As I grew up and dealt with my baggage, God got an awful lot less angry. One of the things I heard all the time as a kid was that anyone who thinks differently about God than we do is making God in their own image. Convenient. But the image of a nonviolent God comes directly from Paul, who says Jesus is the perfect image of the invisible God. We're Christians because we're faithful to Christ. And the Bible is a whole history of accumulated images of God, but Jesus is the image by which all other images are judged. A nonviolent God is really hard to make in your own image, because we naturally see violence as an acceptable or even glorious way to make things right. Violence and the threat of violence are the foundation of civilization. Violence comes naturally to us. And that's what's so ironic about this whole thing. It's the violent God that's made in our image. Violence is not a way that's higher than humanity. Violence is exactly like us. It's perfect love and generosity that's so much higher than our thoughts and our ways. A God who slays his enemies, that we can relate to. But a God who dies for his enemies, that's incomprehensible. And if that God commands us to do the same, that's when things start getting really uncomfortable for us. People like to fall back on Jesus quoting the prophet Isaiah. My ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts. But in Isaiah, when God says that, it's loving kindness and mercy that are so unlike our human ways. For Jesus, God is the one who makes rain fall on the just and unjust alike. If someone were to strike God on the cheek, God would turn the other cheek. If someone were to kill God, God would not fight back. Because violence is the easy thing. Peace is the hard thing. A violent God is a God we've created in our own image to justify our violence and our desire for violence. A God of peace, who really means it, is so far above our way of being. That's not a God created in our image. That's a God we can aspire to, because that's a God who stands directly opposed to anyone who advocates for violence in God's name. Christians are those who have decided to just focus on Jesus as the highest revelation of who God is. A God who gives us peace and hope, but never lets us be comfortable in our own brokenness. A God who demonstrates reckless, furious, self-giving love for all of humanity. A God who is with us and for us. A God like Jesus. God never deviates from the high way. God never deviates from being like Jesus. I don't go in for people who play that, yeah, Jesus, but there are these other stories game. If I believe in a God who smites his enemies and is always looking to punish the wicked, then I'm going to see people in my life through that lens. Rather than responding to them with compassion and mercy like Jesus, I'll actually find a certain kind of satisfaction in any suffering that comes their way, because I'll interpret it as just punishment. And I think we all know a lot of Christians who do exactly that. But if, as Jesus says, God loves our enemies and is kind to people who do bad things and gives even to the most undeserving people without expecting anything in return, then I find myself hoping for the best for them too. Because I'm trying to come to terms with God's love for them, then I'm looking for the good in them. I'm overlooking any wrong that they do, and I'm seeking any redemption I can find in their lives. We become made in the image of the God we worship. The God we believe in is the person we will become.